Good morning, Grace. Here's your machine, the Breville Barista Express BES870. So just finished doing the service last night. Machine is in great condition, no problem. This was actually my brother's machine, my brother's personal machine. I got it for him about 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. Used, of course. I refurbished it back then, and he actually used it maybe once or twice a week. Very little use. So the internals are pretty much like new. I had another look yesterday and did the cleaning cycle and the grinder calibration, etc. Everything looks to be normal, and it's in great shape on the outside as well. Of course, being a used machine, it does have some scratches on the front from where the cup goes in and out, as well as on the right hand side where the milk jug sits. But other than that, yeah, it's not too bad. So in this video I'll be making my morning latte on it. I've just turned on the machine, so you can make your coffee right away, but personally I like to warm it up. So you can warm it up in two ways. You can wait maybe 10 or 20 minutes for the heat from the boiler to dissipate around the machine. So the boiler is obviously on top of the handle, but if you wait 10 or 20 minutes, that heat from the boiler will radiate into the tray, the group head, the handle. You can even put your cups. You can put your cups on top like this, and they'll get warm, not hot, but warm, and that's good. But if you're in a hurry or you want to get it really hot, like myself, I like to get it really hot by running a blank shot, and that means running the water through the portafilter without any coffee into the cup, and that's going to warm things up pretty quickly. So you press the single or double. Let's press the single. We have enough water. Press the single. You can do that once or twice, it's up to you. But certainly once is better than no times. Doing it is better than not doing it at all. Next step is you take out the portafilter. You want to dry it before you grind the coffee in it. Now, the bean hopper is empty. I'm going to fill it with some bean. Okay, this is the first time I use these beans on this machine, so we might have to mess with the grind settings, but I'll use what I think are the settings that are close enough from experience. So I'm going to keep the amount on 12 o'clock. I'm going to put the grind size at 5. Last night I had a look at the grind size at number 5, and it was close enough to my personal machine here on the left. So if we'll make a coffee with these settings. If the coffee comes out too quick, that means our grind size is too large. We need to go a bit finer. If the coffee comes out too slowly, that means our grind size is too fine, and we need to make it larger. So it's just a balancing act. And the beans I'm using are about less than a month old, so it should be good. And I've been using a little bit at a time and closing the packet. That should be fine. If you use cheaper varieties of beans, some of them are not very fresh. So you make coffee and the coffee is always watery, and that's the reason. If you buy the beans fresh, or you get a good brand at the supermarkets that is known to be fresh. For example, I like to recommend Coles and Aldi because they roast them fresh. So when you buy a bag, it's usually within 2 weeks, within a week or 2 weeks of roast, which is great. Anyway. Let's make the coffee. So I have a scale here that I use to sort of calibrate and measure the input and output. You don't have to use a scale, but if you want to improve your shots, you can. I'll put this at 12 o'clock. I'm going to grind a single dose. This is a double dose. basket, single wall basket. So it's called the 2-shot single wall basket. This is the standard shot basket that people use. Your machine also comes with the other baskets here in the tray. Some cleaning tools as well, as you saw in the photos. This basket takes 18 grams of coffee, so I will aim to put that amount in the basket. And instead of going to a double dose right away, as you see here, I will go into the single and do it twice. I think that's going to be more neater, and it's going to reduce the mess, and it'll be a bit more accurate, I think, as a result of that. Grind size number 5, and let's go. Okay, after the first dose, you want to measure it, see if you're on track. And we have 8.1, so not bad, but we will top it up. So I've increased it to 1 o'clock position, so we can get closer to 9 grams, which hopefully will give us 18 if we do it twice. I'm going to grind a bit more. So if you want to grind a bit more, you hold. You hold the button instead of pressing it once. And after that first dose reaches 9 grams, or after you do it one time, just lightly tamp it with the tamper like this to bring the coffee down to make way for the next dose. 18.5. Yeah, not too bad. So maybe it's better to go a bit under than over. So instead of giving you more than 18, I'll put it on 12 o'clock. So I guess going a bit under is better than going over. So now you'll be getting 16, maybe 17 grams of coffee, which is okay. If you want to measure it and increase the dose, that's fine. But now it's at 18 sharp. I've trimmed some of it. So before you tamp it all the way, just flatten it with your fingers or your palm. Get the tamper and press it nice and firmly. You want it to be level as well. So as you see, it's nice and flat and it's level all around. If you don't have a scale, or if you're in a hurry and you want to check, do I have the right quantity of coffee or not? Just look at the depth of this silver part on the tamper. The silver part should disappear, more or less, or it should sink to become flush with the rim. So once it's flush, that means you have about 18 grams, and in this case, we can confirm that by the scale. If the edges have any coffee on them, just wipe them with your finger like that. Lock it in. Sorry about the wait. Yeah, I was just changing cups. That cup I think is a bit too small for me to make a latte. That's more of a piccolo or a espresso shot glass. You also have a hot water tap, so you can get fresh hot water right from the boiler. I like to use the hot water tap to add a bit of sugar to my coffee. So I add a tiny drop of water, just a few milliliters, And then that'll help dissolve the sugar in my cup so that the last sip of coffee isn't sweet. We don't want that. Cool. Sugar, if you like, you know, syrups or equal sweeteners, you add it now before the espresso, so that once the espresso comes out, it's nicely mixed with this flavoring. Okay. These buttons here are programmable. I forgot to say. They're programmable and you can change them to whatever length you'd like, between I think 20 milliliters and 200 milliliters. A normal shot of coffee being about 35 to 40. So I will be reprogramming the double shot for you to give you about 40 grams of coffee. The quantity almost always depends on the speed. So if I do the settings now and they're great, then I'll only have to do this once. But if the beans are a bit too finely ground or too coarsely ground, so if the coffee comes out too quick or too slow, I might have to change the button settings as well. I hope this doesn't overwhelm you, but basically, when you prepare the machine and put the settings for whatever size you are at, if you change the grind size or you change the beans, these may also change based on the pressure that the beans give you. So, to program, it's very easy. You press the program button. You press the button you want to program, and then you press it again once it finishes. Pay attention to the pressure gauge. It should be above the gray zone. Looking good. It's all the way at 1 o'clock position. The coffee's coming out nice and slow. I think we nailed the grind size actually. It's coming at an appropriate rate. I'm not sure if you can see. But it's been 25 seconds, and I'll stop it there. So that's a 25-second shot. Next time you make coffee, it'll probably take around the same time if you have the same beans and same settings. So these buttons are volumetric. They're not by time, they're volumetric. So they will give you this much coffee. Or, in other words, they may take longer if you change the beans, or they may take less time if you change the beans. But hopefully they'll give you this much coffee every time. This is 40 grams of coffee, so great, looks good to me. It has a good amount of crema, and it came out 25 seconds, which is appropriate, I think, and the pressure was good as well. So we've done the right thing from the first go. It's great. Next would be the milk. So I'm just going to fill my milk jug with milk. If you don't have a milk jug, try to get one that's metal and what's the size? 300 mils, I think. If you get one that's too large, you may struggle. If you get one that's too small, it may spill over the sides as you're frothing the milk. So get something that's, you know, for one coffee. Let's clean before we steam the milk. So take the portafilter out, and the coffee can be stuck up there sometimes. Just wait for it. Knock it into the knock box. Give it a flush. Great. So do this every time after you finish the coffee, so that you don't want the portafilter to be well, it's up to you. It's your machine. But for me, I clean it after every use. If you don't, the coffee will sort of stick on the group head, and it'll stick on the shower screen, and that means the next shot will be a bit dirty unless you flush again. Right, milk steaming. Turn on the steamer. It'll give you about 15 seconds before it outputs the steam. So it's just heating up. If you don't see steam coming right away, or a bit of water coming right away when you open the valve here, that means your wand is blocked. So just get a pin tool. So that won't happen if you clean the wand. I'll show you how. Turn it off. You have about 5 seconds before the machine resets. So turn it back on. Put the wand at an angle and allow it to rotate the milk all around the jug in like a vortex motion. And keep the wand close to the tip for the first few seconds. But don't let it stay near the tip for too long. Otherwise, the froth will be too, the coffee will be too bubbly, and you're going to be smooth. So raise the jug slowly, and just make sure you don't spill. Keep it spinning, and once it's too hot to the touch, turn it off. And to purge and clean, before you let it cool down, just give it another go to give you steam so that the internals are clean. See? So any milk on the inside will be cleaned. That's how I clean the wand. I think if you forget to do this step and the milk, so the machine will now cool down. If you forget to purge the milk, what will happen is you'll get a plug of milk, so it'll harden and it'll close the end of the wand. And next morning you come make a coffee, it won't steam. Obviously now you have milk on the outside as well, so you want to wipe that. Just grab a towel or a sponge and wipe. Another lazy way I've learned to clean is just to turn on the hot water tap with the wand underneath. And that's gonna flush everything. Hot water is good for cleaning milk wands because it will melt, or it will soften the milk if it's hardened over days. Looks great. Yeah, so let's not let the milk sit out for too long. Okay, I think we added a bit too much froth, but that's fine. I haven't used this model in a while, but that's okay. I guess we're making a cappuccino this morning, not a latte. So a cappuccino has more froth, it's a bigger drink than a latte. So I'm swirling the milk jug around to break any air bubbles, and knocking it on the counter to break any air bubbles, and swirling around so that we can get an even texture. And if you're skilled, you can do latte art if you do some practice or some barista courses or watch a lot of videos online. Personally, I haven't been able to perfect it just because I don't usually make a lot of coffees back to back, and yeah, I usually make my coffees in a hurry. All done. So let me show you the final result. It's cappuccino because of the froth level, so I've got a lot of froth. This much, pretty much. Yeah, I'm sure you can do better coffees on your Breville Barista Express. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate. And yeah, I'll see you soon today. Cheers.